All right, good evening. Tonight I have a beer from Jobsite Brewing Company, Stratford, Ontario, Canada. This one happens to be called Fresh Lumber, and it is a cucumber mint pale ale. I've never had cucumber in a beer. I think I've had mint one time, so this will be interesting. It's coming in around 5%, and we'll give her a shot. Oh, been a long weekend, and that sounds delicious. Oh boy. Very clear. What was it called? Fresh lumber. Fresh lumber. Smell some mint. Don't smell cucumber, but I'm sure I'll taste it. I do. I do taste cucumber, and I taste mint. And it's actually not too bad. That's it's a pretty easy drink, to be honest. Unique, interesting, delicious. Yeah. I don't know about you, but when I think about job site and lumber, I think about construction. And a few years ago, a lot of people came on hard times. There's a bit of a recession. Housing market was down. A lot of people became unemployed. The husband and wife, they're both in the construction business for a long time, and they both find themselves unemployed. And after a month or two, money's tight. Can't find any work because everybody's struggling. So he comes up with the idea. He says, "Look, honey, we are desperate for money." He says, "I think, you still got some good looks." He says, "I think you're going to have to work the corner, support the family." She says, "Well, I don't know. I've never done anything like that. I wouldn't even know what to say or what to do, how to act." He says, "Well, I've thought about this for a while." He said, "I think the best course of action is for us to pick a corner with some trees or some bushes, and I can hide behind. And then if you have any questions or concerns, you can come over to me and ask me, and no one will know I'm back there. And then you can go back, talk to the customer." She's like, "Well, if you're sure this is the best thing to do, let's try it." So they pick a corner with some bushes on the corner, and he hides behind the bushes, and she gets dressed up, and she stands at the corner, and she's waiting and waiting. Eventually, a car comes along, and a guy stops and says, "Oh, are you open for business?" And she says, yes, I am." He goes, "Okay, how much for sex?" She says, "I don't know. Hold on a second." So she runs over to the bushes and asks her husband, "How much are we charging for sex?" And he says, "Tell him $100." So she's like, "Okay." So she goes back to the car. She says, "Sex is $100." He's like, "Ooh, that's a little steep. It's tough times right now." He goes, "How about a blowjob? How much is blowjob?" She says, "I don't know. Just give me a minute." So she runs over to the bushes again. She says, "Honey, he wants to know how much a blowjob is." "Oh, tell him $50. $50 for a blowjob." So she goes back to the car. Says, "Okay, blowjobs are $50." He's like, "Oh, I don't know. That's still a little bit too rich. How much for a hand job?" He goes, "Oh." He goes, "Okay, hold on a second." So she runs back to the bushes. She says, "How much for a hand job?" And the husband's getting frustrated at this point. He's like, "Oh, for goodness sakes, $25. Just tell him $25." So she goes back to the car and it's just $25 for a hand job. He goes, "Oh, you know what? That sounds good." She goes, "Okay." So she hops in the car and he takes down his pants a little bit, shakes, and Once you know it, there's some fresh lumber. And it's magical lumber. It's a little spicy, a little more than she's anticipated. Maybe a little larger lumber than she's used to. And she says to the guy, she says, "Hold on a minute." He's like, "Oh, okay." So she gets out of the car. She runs back to the bushes and says, "Honey, this guy seems really nice, and he only has $25 for a hand job. Can we lend him $75? Beer and a joke."